You ever hear the sound a bulldozer makes when it crushes 3 generations of your family in one afternoon? Because I have. That's how you know this isn't a story I wanted to tell. It's the kind you tell because you can't sleep. Picture me standing in a mess of splintered wood and twisted nails, pine sap hanging in the air like a memory you can't shake diesel fumes thick enough to taste. That spot used to be my life, well, the part that felt like home anyway. My grandfather built that cabin back in '62. His hands still scarred from Korea, but steady, determined, every railing carved by hand, his initials hidden in the doorframe like a secret handshake passed down the line. Now it's all flattened under a bulldozer track, thanks to a smug HOA president with a clipboard and a contractor who never bothered to ask whose memories he was erasing. They didn't even knock. You ever watch your childhood get turned into landfill? Let me tell you, it's a sound that sticks with you. The kind you hear in your bones long after the noise is gone. They knocked it down 5 days ago. No permit, no warning, just a letter and a wrecking crew. I guess they figured I was too broken to fight, too buried in grief to push back. That's where they messed up. My name's Marcus A.L., and for 18 years, every building permit, demolition order, and asbestos report in this county crossed my desk. You could say I know the rules better than anyone, which also means I know how to bury someone who breaks them. Let me back up a second. 6 weeks before all that rubble, before diesel and betrayal became the new smell of home, my father died. Heart attack. Tuesday morning. Braves game, still playing recliner, kicked back like he'd just closed his eyes for a nap. He was 73. He was the last link I had to that place. We always said we'd retire there together, just a couple of old guys fishing off the same dock my grandfather built. That cabin wasn't just a house, it was a promise. After the funeral, I had to handle all the paperwork, wills, probate, all that. While I was driving back and forth to Memphis, a certified letter showed up at the house. HOA nonsense. Notice of non-compliance and remediation. According to Pine Hollow Shores HOA, my grandfather's cabin was a visual blight on community property values. 14 days to repaint, remove the dock, tear down the old shed, or they'd do it for me and charge me for the pleasure. Thing is, my family's cabin had been on that land for 40 years before the HOA ever even existed. I had every document you could imagine, surveys, permits, continuous ownership, airtight. But none of that mattered to the HOA president, Clara Whitford. She didn't care about legal, she cared about control. 3 days after the funeral, I walked into an emergency board meeting thinking if I showed them the proof, they'd back off. Naive, right? Instead, I got a tribunal, 6 board members behind a folding table, a room that reeked of store-bought cookies and arrogance. Clara, in a white blazer at the head, looked at me with that fake sympathy. We respect your family's history, Mr. A.L., but rules are rules. I laid out every document I had grandfathered, exemption, county code deed. She didn't even glance at them. We've consulted attorneys, she said. Your non-compliance is documented. 14 days or we take corrective action. I asked, you mean demolition? She just smiled. Didn't even bother to blink. The guy next to her, younger, tanned, same last name her son as I'd find out. Derek Whitford, owner of Whitford & Sons Construction. Real cozy setup. The board voted 6-0, authorization granted. I walked out thinking I'd handle it the right way. File an injunction, talk to the county attorney. I wasn't just another homeowner they could steamroll. I was the one who approved their permits. I figured they'd stick to the law. That was my mistake. 5 days later, I was still in Memphis, handling Dad's estate when they sent in the bulldozers. My neighbor Lyle, retired fisherman 71, called me, voice shaking. Marcus, they're here. Truck's heavy equipment. Clara's in your driveway. I told him to put me on video. What I saw, it made my blood run cold. That bulldozer bit into my grandfather's porch like it was nothing. The railing, hand-carved, 60 years old, split in half. Diesel smoke rolled across the lake. I called the sheriff, still watching it on my phone. Someone's demolishing my property at 47 Lakeview Drive. No permit, no inspection, nothing. The dispatcher sounded tired, like she had heard this all before. "Sir, we have a report the homeowner was notified." "I am the homeowner," I said, "and I'm burying my father. That's illegal demolition. No asbestos inspection. No hazardous waste. Sign off. Check your system." She put me on hold. I just stood there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to the sound of my family's history getting wiped out. When she came back, she said, "Sir, the HOA representative presented a court order." There was no court order, but she hung up anyway. By the time I made it home, the place was gone. 11 hours of destruction, 60 years of memories reduced to kindling. I pulled up after dark headlights sweeping over a bomb site, and there, stuck in the dirt, was a laminated sign. Per Pine Hollow Shores HOA bylaw, 14.3 non-compliant structure removed. Restoration cost $31, $800, invoice to follow. She actually billed me for demolishing my own home. That's when grief turned into something sharper precision. Right there under the floodlight, I opened my county inspection app. Permits for demolition 0, asbestos inspection 0. Hazardous waste. Nope. Clara Whitford had just committed 3 felonies in one afternoon, left a contamination hazard right next to a public lake. I picked up a chunk of railing, ran my thumb over my grandfather's chisel marks, and whispered, "You built it by hand, Grandpa. I'll handle the rest by law." I didn't sleep that night. By sunrise, I had a plan. Not revenge documentation. First, file a police report. Second, hire an attorney. Third, audit. Everything Clara had ever touched. Detective Carla Reyes worked fraud cases with me before, met me at the station. I showed her the video, the forged court order, the dates, the sign. "This is felony destruction of property," she said. "But HOAs hide behind bylaws." "Then we prove those bylaws are lies," I told her. Next stop, attorney Judith Kwan, older Korean-American, reading glasses, reputation for taking down crooked HOAs. She listened, nodded, and smiled a predator's smile. "We're not just suing, we're auditing. HOAs are non-profits. Sunshine laws, full disclosure. Let's see where those dues went." 3 days later, she called. "Sit down, Marcus." Turns out Pine Hollow Shores collected $470,000 a year. Only $290,000 ever spent. $180,000 missing every year for 3 years. $500,000 gone. Guess where Whitford and Sons landscaping invoices 3 times market rate? Legal fees to Clara's disbarred brother-in-law. Spa visits, restaurant tabs, her Lexus lease. Clara was embezzling HOA money for facials and car payments. Then came the twist, the email. "Clara to Derek, 3 days before the demolition, handle the AL problem permanently. Bill it as emergency remediation. Usual split." Derek replied, "Done. He'll be too broken to fight back." Instead of shaking, I smiled. She just signed her own demolition order, I told Judith. But I wanted more. So I started inspecting every property Whitford and Sons built in 3 years, 11 houses. What I found could fill a safety manual from hell. No fire stops, illegal railings, gas lines into drywall, 60-plus violations, all life-threatening. Every homeowner got a notice 30 days to fix it or pay daily fines. Next morning, Derek called me, voice shaking. "You're harassing my clients." "No," I said, "I'm saving them from your shortcuts." 2 hours later, Clara called. "You're abusing your position." Coming from someone who bulldozed my house without permits, I laughed. She hung up. Judith kept digging. She found Clara had sold a downtown warehouse, claimed it was renovated, no permits. 23 families living in a fire trap. I scheduled an inspection, no occupancy certificate exposed, wiring a disaster waiting for a headline. Filed my report, copied the DA. Clara's empire started to bleed. Then deep in the county archives, I found the 1958 master deed restriction nobody remembered. Any demolition of pre-existing structures required unanimous county board approval. Violation property reverts to the county for conservation, which meant Clara's demolition technically voided every homeowner's title in Pine Hollow Shores. The whole development could revert to county ownership. I called Judith. You might want a drink. Silence then. That's nuclear leverage. We used it not to punish everyone, but to end the HOA. The planned criminal charges for Clara and Derek dissolve. The HOA create a voluntary neighborhood association restitution from their personal assets. Everyone else kept their homes. The tyrants lost theirs. For 3 weeks, we built our case. Lyle's garage became our war room evidence. Everywhere, code violations, fraud, demolition. Detective Reyes joined us. Warrant paperwork ready. The annual HOA meeting was set October 28th, mandatory attendance. Perfect stage. The night before, Clara tried one last dirty trick, fake social media, accusing me of corruption, even dragging my daughter Sierra. Within hours, neighbors defended me, sharing stories of inspections I'd done that saved their homes. Her smear campaign backfired. Derek tried to bribe Lyle at his dock, offered to rebuild my cabin for free if we dropped the case. When Lyle refused, Derek hinted at accidents on docks. Lyle recorded everything: witness intimidation, more felonies. Clara even filed a complaint with county HR demanding my suspension. My supervisor, Pat Vance, tough old administrator, called me in, held up the papers, and said, "Transparent retaliation. I'm dismissing it." Off the record, Marcus, bury her. The night of the meeting, the parking lot overflowed news vans, outside homeowners buzzing inside. I walked in with my county badge, not a weapon, just as a witness. Clara sat up front, pearls gleaming, Derek sweating bullets. She banged the gavel, started to speak, but I stood up. "Madam President, under state statute 47.3, I have the right to present evidence of fiduciary breach." My attorney Judith beside me. Even Clara's fake lawyer nodded. I started the projector first slide, my grandfather's cabin in golden light, then the demolition footage, Clara in my driveway, clipboard in hand. Gasps in the room. Judith clicked through the charts. $470,000 a year, only $290,000. Spent the rest, gone to spas and luxury cars. Murmurs turned to shouting, then the email, "Handle the AL problem permanently." The place exploded. I laid out Derek's code violations, 11 homes, 63 violations. A mother stood up, voice trembling. "We have children. Our attic has those vents." Clara lunged for the mic. "This is a witch hunt." Judith cut her off. "Would you like to repeat that under oath? The DA is watching." Silence. Detective Reyes stepped forward. "Clara Whitford." "Derek." Whitford, stand up. 2 deputies' handcuffs clicked. Applause, tears, relief. Clara stared at me wide-eyed. "You ruined me." "No, Clara. You ruined yourself. I just turned on the lights." After the dust settled, Judith announced the plan. HOA dissolved funds, recovered fines, waived county oversight. Homeowners cheered. They elected Lyle as chair, Mrs. Nova, the retired CPA, as treasurer, a local teacher as secretary, real people, not tyrants. We restored public lake access, built a new dock, and put up a bronze plaque for my grandfather, Hank Ale, master carpenter, veteran, and believer that this lake belongs to everyone. Lyle stood up. "Let's call it Hank's Landing." Unanimous vote. 6 months later, spring sunlight danced across the water, volunteers rebuilding my cabin. The new cedar siding smelled fresh, but when I ran my hand along the railing carved in my grandfather's pattern, it finally felt like home. Clara pled guilty. 6 felonies, 3 years, her Lexus auctioned house foreclosed. Derek got 2 years and lost his license. Their stolen funds. $540,000 got split among the homeowners. Some used it for repairs. Some started a scholarship fund, Hank A.L. Memorial, for kids learning skilled trades. The first ceremony was right there on the dock, laughter echoing where bulldozers once growled. Even the state legislature took notice, passed the Homeowner Protection Act, easier audits, automatic felony for demolition without consent. They called it Hank's Law. The governor signed it with me by his side. Sometimes I walk down to the lake at dawn, coffee in hand, listening to the loons like when I was 10. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that bullies hide behind paperwork until someone reads the fine print out loud. My grandfather built with wood, I build with law, different tools, same purpose. So if you're out there and your HOA's measuring your grass while you're just trying to live, don't roll over. Check the records, talk to your neighbors, demand transparency. Justice doesn't come from a clipboard. It comes from people who refuse to be flattened. Drop your HOA stories in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from, what battles you've fought, and what lines you've drawn in your own yard. And if you know someone who thinks they're powerless, share this with them, because sometimes the quiet guy with a badge and a toolbox is the storm coming for the tyrants. Justice, when it finally comes, sounds a lot like hammering nails into fresh wood and hearing the whole neighborhood breathe easy for the first time in years.